3 weeks after the ruling, the courtroom monitor had gone dark. But the orders remained active. Temporary full custody, emergency relocation authorization, passport clearance under protective grounds. Daniel's accounts were frozen pending investigation. He could no longer block international movement. Emily did not return immediately. That was intentional. Daniel believed distance meant safety for him too. He relaxed. He assumed she would not risk coming back. He underestimated planning. 2 weeks after the ruling, Emily landed quietly at night. No announcement, no social media, no calls to relatives. Only her lawyer knew. She was granted a temporary sealed re-entry authorization under custody enforcement protocol. Daniel was not notified. The morning Emily arrived, Daniel received notice that her legal team had initiated international relocation processing for the children. His reaction was immediate. He called someone he knew in the passport office, pulled favors, filed an emergency petition claiming she was emotionally unstable. She intended to abduct the children. She was fleeing prosecution. By noon, the children's passport release was temporarily flagged. He smiled for the first time in days. Control restored, or so he thought. At 4:37 p.m., the High Court issued an emergency override. The judge cited documented domestic intimidation, audio threats, financial concealment, risk of retaliatory interference. The order authorized immediate passport release. Police monitored exit. No contact enforcement. Daniel received the update by email. His smile disappeared. He drove to the children's school anyway. But when he arrived, 2 officers were already there. Emily stood near the gate. For a split second, their eyes met. He saw something new in her posture. Not fear, finality. "You think this is over?" he asked quietly. "It already was," she replied. The officers stepped between them. He was forced to watch as the children entered the vehicle with her. He was not allowed to approach. He was not allowed to speak to them. The vehicle drove away. That was the moment obsession began replacing pride. At the airport, security was thorough. Documentation checked. Custody order verified. Protective clause confirmed. The children were cleared for departure. But as Emily adjusted her daughter's backpack before boarding, her hand brushed something hard inside the lining. A small stitched seam had been opened and resealed. She felt it immediately. Her training as a mother sharpened everything. She excused herself calmly and stepped aside. Inside the seam, a micro GPS tracker. Her heart dropped, but her face did not. He hadn't tried to stop them physically. He had tried to follow them. Emily did not confront him. She handed it directly to airport security. An official report was filed. That report later became part of the international harassment case. Daniel never knew when the tracker stopped transmitting. He assumed it worked. He believed he still had access. He was wrong. As the plane lifted off, Emily looked down at the city shrinking beneath clouds. Her son leaned against her shoulder. Her daughter slept. This time, she allowed herself one tear. Not from fear, from survival. But survival does not end obsession. Rain hit the airport runway in sheets. A departure board flickered. A name appeared briefly on the screen, D. Anderson. A one-way ticket. Destination, the country Emily had escaped to. Daniel watched the boarding gate close. His jaw was set. This was not reconciliation. This was possession. The first weeks were not peaceful. The children struggled. New schools, new accents, smaller apartment. Emily slept lightly, even with legal protection. But routine slowly replaced fear. Morning school runs, homework at a tiny kitchen table, laughter returning in cautious waves. The children were not running from something anymore. They were rebuilding towards something. Morning light poured into Emily's small apartment abroad. No luxury, no marble floors, no designer furniture, just peace. Her daughter laughed from the kitchen as Emily helped with homework. There were still court hearings pending. There were still investigations ongoing. But for the first time in years, Emily slept without fear. She believed the distance was enough. It wasn't. Emily's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. Then another message came. A photo. Her apartment building, taken from across the street. Her hands froze. A second message appeared. "You really thought oceans could stop me?" Her breath shortened. She rushed to the window. No one visible. But that didn't mean he wasn't there. Daniel sitting inside a rented car 2 blocks away. Unshaven, eyes darker. He had lost money, lost reputation, lost control. But obsession had replaced dignity. He replayed her courtroom testimony in his mind. Within his reach, that sentence had branded him. He needed to prove she was wrong. He needed proximity. He convinced himself it was love. It wasn't. It was ego refusing burial. In the evening, Emily walked her daughter home from a small neighborhood market. Halfway down the quiet street, a voice behind her, running again. She froze. Her daughter tightened her grip. Daniel stepped forward from the shadows. No rage on his face. That was worse. He looked calm. Let's talk. Emily positioned herself between him and her child. There is nothing left to discuss. You embarrassed me, he said softly. In front of the world. You threatened me, she replied. His jaw twitched. You destroyed our family. You did that long before I left. Silence thickened. Neighbors watched from balconies, unsure. Daniel stepped closer. Too close. You belong to me. And in that moment, Emily saw it clearly. This was no longer about marriage. It was about ownership. Daniel reached for her arm. Before his hand could close, police sirens pierced the night. Blue lights flooded the street. Daniel stepped back instinctively. Officers approached quickly. Daniel Anderson, he stiffened. You are in violation of an international protective order and under investigation for financial crimes and interstate harassment. His face strained. He looked at Emily. You called them. She held his gaze. No. Confusion flickered across his features. Then realization. Lena stepped forward from behind a patrol car. She had followed the financial trail. She had testified. And when she discovered he'd left the country without notifying authorities, she reported him, not out of revenge, but survival. Daniel had underestimated the one thing he never respected: women who talk to each other. As officers placed him in handcuffs, Daniel finally broke. This isn't over, he muttered. But the power in his voice was gone. Because for the first time, he was not controlling the narrative. He was the subject of it. The car door shut, and he disappeared into the back seat. Emily stood still long after the sirens faded. Her daughter looked up at her. Is he coming back? Emily knelt. No, this time, it was true. She looked up at the sky. Not triumphant, not vindictive, but certain. He crossed the ocean thinking distance was the enemy. He never understood. Silence was, and she no longer carried it for him. He chased her across the world to reclaim control. Instead, he delivered himself to justice. The end of the story.